Hello. Hello, good afternoon. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon,
Good
sir.
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good to have you on here. Very well, thank you.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm good.
Thank you for
Good.
thank you for coming along and being part of this conversation. It's a
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. Yeah, so just to start things, I will read out your profile. As seen on Amazon.
Okay.
Olukorede Sadiq Yishau, an associate editor with The Nation, shown when he was declared columnist of the year at the 2015 prestigious Nigerian Media Merit Awards, NMMA. That night, he was also crowned NMMA Entertainment Reporter of the Year. Previously, the graduate of mass communication from the Ambrose Ali University, EPOMA, who was also a finalist in the columnist of the year category at the last NMMA was NMMA Capital Market Reporter of the Year 2013, Aviation Industry Reporter of the Year 2003. Also finalist at the Union Bank's Banking and Finance Reporter of the Year 2003, finalist Olukorede Entertainment Reporter of the Year 2001, finalist Print Journalist of the Year 2005, and finalist Political Reporter of the Year 2006. His poems were published in an anthology of poetry, activist poet, edited by Sunday Oladunjuri in the late 90s. He writes a column above Whispers in the Nation every Friday. This is his debut novel. Good afternoon, Olukorede Yishau, and it's a pleasure to have you on this.
Good afternoon.
It's a pleasure to speak to you, and I would like to say that congratulations on your nomination for the NLNG Fiction Prize for your novel in the name of our Father. The name of our Father. So tell us about your writing journey and how you got to this point, from the beginning to in the name of our Father and being nominated for this prestigious fiction prize.
I'm sure for most writers, their writing to becoming writers actually start from being readers. And for me, that was how I started. I started reading work of fiction, I think maybe early in primary school or secondary school, I can't remember exactly. And while reading those stories, I will feel like I can do something like this. I can do something like this. So I started trying my hands on creating my own characters, telling stories and all of that. I remember why I was in secondary school, maybe GS3 or GS2, I can't remember. I remember writing something that I thought was a novel. I wrote it on a 60-leaf exercise book and submitted to the guy who was teaching English and literature in my secondary school at that time. Well, I can't remember whether he ever got back to me to give me any feedback on it. But my instinct tells me that I must have written rubbish. I must have written rubbish. That, well, I could have had a story, but maybe, okay, how do you plot it very well? Maybe I'm not too sure I would have gotten that very well at that early stage in my secondary education. But of course, later when I got to the Nigerian Institute of Journalism, I became close to a former editor of Int magazine. His name is Shim Newton. And how did I become close? He wrote a book called The Principles of Creative Writing. So I ordered a copy of the book. So it was supposed to be delivered to me by mail or something, but it didn't come on time. So along the line, I discovered that his office is just on the same road with my school at that time. So I decided to walk to the place to ask for my book. So luckily enough, he was in the office the day I got there. So they told him I was around. So he decided to see me. And he has this very beautiful calligraphic handwriting like that. He had done me a personal note telling me that, okay, acquiring the book is a great start for me to improve on my writing and all of that. So after that, I used to do all these small romance novellas like that. So I used to buy and read them. So anytime I read and discovered errors, typo errors and all of that, I would mark them out. So I started pointing his attention to it. So he felt that, okay, this guy is good with proofreading. So he started giving me jobs. So I became like his proofreader. So before any of those novellas are released to the public, he will give them to me to read. I think he was paying me whether 1,000 or 2,000 naira or something for each of them. So at a point, he encouraged me to try and write one. So I told him an idea I had, and he encouraged me to start doing it chapter by chapter. So when I write chapter 1, I will give to him. He will go through and tell me, okay, you will adjust, edit, and all of that. I said, okay, now go ahead with chapter 2. So he was supposed to publish it for me. But unfortunately, I think by the time I finished work on it, his company had some financial challenges like that, so he couldn't publish. So he gave it back to me. So later, I think some 2 years after that, I started working with a magazine called The Source. That was where I got the idea for In the Name of Our Father. So after I wrote In the Name of Our Father, I felt the other one was inferior. So I never bothered to try publishing it and all of that. So I'm sure if I check around the house here or somewhere, I may still see the printed version of it somehow, but somehow just felt, no, I won't publish this. I won't publish this. So it's somewhere there rotten away. And so that's just it for me, how it started and all of that. And for In the Name of Our Father specifically, when I was working with The Source, we had this column called Night Diary. And what we were doing with Night Diary was for us to write about what we experience at night. Mostly it was written by reporters, but once in a while we allowed outsiders to contribute to the column. So there was one that was written by an outsider about a pastor who was doing all kinds of funny things at night to be able to get people to come to his church and all of that. So when I read that particular one, I felt this would make a good material for a work of fiction. But at the stage, I felt, okay, if I used that alone, that the story was going to be too simple, I wanted something a bit complex. So at the point, it occurred to me also that I could do a story about the Abacha regime, what journalists went through and all of those. So I was like, okay, how do I find a link between a fake prophet story and a story about a journalist? So I decided, okay, this is what I was going to do. That I was going to do a story about a journalist who has written a book about a fake prophet. And because the fake prophet is still alive, it will change so many of the details so that it won't be too obvious who he was talking about. Unfortunately for him, the person who gave him the details about the pastor also chicken out along the line and leaked the secret to the pastor that one journalist was writing book about him. So they started threatening his life so that he will not publish the novel and all of that. So that was the starting point of the novel, where they were threatening him and all of that. So I decided to do a story within story. So the story within story is the story of the fake prophets, and it's a book written by the journalist that is now being threatened. For me to be able to tell the story within story, so I did it as if the journalist is reading his own manuscript again. So and the manuscript is called Angels Live in Heaven. So that was how I was able to tell that particular story. So after he finished reading, so the story will now go back to his own troubles again, how soldiers came to pick him up and other things he went through in prison and all of that, and how he didn't know why he was really arrested. Of course, they told him that it was because he wrote a column titled The Coming Coup. So they said, okay, that meant he was aware of the coup plot. So they lumped him up with generals and all of that and tried all of them for treasonable felony. And they were all jailed and moved from prison to prison. So until the end of the book that is titled and it becomes all clear, that's when readers will be able to find the link between the story within the story and the story of the journalist. And I've seen so many people who, when they get to that place, they will say, okay, somebody told me of his daughter who read it and said, I did not understand the whole thing until the end of the book. I said, well, that was how the thing was designed. And the end of the book was also aptly titled, and it becomes all clear. Because so many will just read and feel like, okay, there is a story of a journalist, there's a story of this, okay, what's the link? Because if you also pay attention to the prologue, okay, you know that, okay, you are reading a story written by the journalists. Of course, you won't understand, okay, was there any link between the book he has written and his time in prison? Of course, you won't get to understand all that until the end of the book. So I think I should keep short for now.
Thank you so much for the wonderful insight on that. And I've seen so many people say that this could comfortably have been 2 novels as well. So great job on that for the technique of a story within the story, you know. I'm sure this will inspire so many people as well who are, you know, looking at that writing technique, a story within a story, you know, and you've done it perfectly well, executed it really well. So if you really want to understand everything Olukorede Yishau has talked about today, in the name of our Father, is available on Amazon and other online stores across the world. So for you to get into the full meat of the book, so you can see it here. So just order your copies online everywhere books are sold. You will be happy you did. This is a fantastic movie. So thank you very much for that. So my next question is, why do you think we have more companies who would rather sponsor a reality TV show than a literature prize? And if you had a chance to pitch to corporate Nigeria to support the literary community, what would you be saying?
Well, the truth is that we all know that entertainment, especially music, sells. And for corporate organizations, they're after profits. So they will rather associate with a musician than associate with a novelist because they're looking for mileage and they trust that the musician will bring them the mileage they're looking for. If you do a book reading and it is free, you will even have trouble getting people to attend.
Yeah.
But if you do the video, for instance, decide to do a free musical show, even the ones that people are paying for,
yeah,
you will find that it is going to be sold out.
Yeah.
So if he now decides to do a free one, you can imagine what will happen. So for a book, when you do a book reading free of charge, people will still not come.
Yeah.
So entertainment has always had that upper hand because for you to listen to music, all you need is just your ear. You don't need to use too much of your brain. But for you to read and enjoy a book, you actually need to use your brain.
Yeah.
If your brain is on suspension, then you will not enjoy the book.
True.
And you won't even be able to understand what the author is talking about. And that's even for a complex work of fiction, for instance. You need to really concentrate on the work for you to really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But for music, you just need your hair. If your brain is even on holiday, your hair will still pick the music, then you can. So I can understand that sentiment, why an average corporate organization would prefer to make a musician their brand ambassador than to make a Booker Prize winner. How many, even with as popular as the Booker Prize is, how many Booker Prize winners have been made brand ambassadors, this and all of that? Oh, but they would rather make a movie star, this and all of that. So at this stage, really, the only thing we can do to cooperate Nigeria is to actually just plead that for the sake of reading culture and all of that, that even if it is just 10% of what they are giving to entertainers, they can devote it to the arts too, so that the industry will continue to thrive. And it's only in Nigeria, Hollywood, for instance, I think over 50% of the movies they do are actually adapted from books.
Yeah.
And that way you see the authors also getting a lot of money in terms of movie or series rights and all of that. We're seeing a bit of that here and there in Nigeria, but I even doubt if the authors are getting big money for it, except the ones that are now going to be adapted for Netflix, like Swallow by Sefi Atta, that Kunle Afolayan has finished shooting and is going to be on Netflix, I think soon. I suspect that because of Netflix involvement, Sefi should have received some good pay for that. Lola Shone's The Secret Life of Babasegi's Wife is also going to become a Netflix series. Mo Abudu has gotten the right to do that. So I believe that, okay, all those ones that have Netflix as sponsors, maybe the authors will get some good money. But I know that Tunde Kelani has done a few of Femi Osofison's work. Well, to the best of my knowledge, Tunde Kelani is not super rich, so, so I'm not too sure he will have been able to pay the authors what they truly deserve, if deserve. So the only thing we can do to cooperate Nigeria is really to beg, really, because we don't have that advantage of number compared to what an entertainer will bring to the table. So we can only plead that just 10% or 20 or 30% of what they're giving us, they should also give it to us, so that the reading culture can be deepened. That's just the best way.
So if anyone is watching us from corporate Nigeria, Olukorede Yishau is saying, please, if it's just 10%. So I'm lending my voice to that plea as well. Come to the aid of the literary community, to the arts, to preserve the reading culture, and also so that so that the arts will not die in Nigeria, within the African literary space as well. So we encourage more corporate bodies, corporate sponsorships. We have a lot of role models within the literary space as well that you can adopt as brand ambassadors, that would encourage more people to want to take up to writing. Look at people like Olukorede Yishau, that if they can do it and get this kind of nomination and recognition for their work, then they would aspire, people they can look up to want to be like. Yeah, so we plead with you, anyone, decision makers in corporate Nigeria. So we leave it there. So thank you for that. You have had my next question. You have had a noteworthy career as a journalist. What would you tell someone who is looking to get into journalism today? What values and ethics should they hold there? And what is your view on brown envelope journalism? And how can journalists continue to hold the ruling elite to account without compromising on integrity?
Well, the major thing that I would advise anybody coming into journalism now is for the person to be what I would call a multimedia journalist. And by multimedia journalist, I mean that, okay, you can write, you can do videos, you can do podcasts, you can do almost every aspect of journalism. When we started, it was mainly print. Of course, over the years, the online has taken over. And with online, you have to do videos, you have to do podcasts, you have to do some of those other things for you to be like an all-round journalist and to be relevant to the needs of the day. Well, for brown envelope journalism and all of that, I find it difficult to blame an African journalist because the industry is in distress, serious distress. And COVID-19 has even worsened the whole thing. Most media houses in Nigeria, even the big ones, had to sack staff last year. And when I say sack, I'm talking about sacking 50, 60, 70, 80 members of staff. Because the money was just not there for the companies to continue paying the staff. So they had to reduce the print run. Most newspapers in Nigeria now, except on days when they have plenty adverts, they do just 32 pages. And I remember some 2-3 years ago, they were doing 64 pages. That means they've cut the pagination of the newspaper to half. So it's only when they have plenty advert that you see them adding more pagination. So, and because of the fact that, okay, we all have mobile phones and we read news on our tab and all of that, copy sales for print newspapers have also gone down over the years. And COVID now decided to even dealt its own devastating blows. So you find a number of media houses that cannot even afford to pay their staff. So you find somebody working in that kind of organization who goes to an event and somebody offers him 10,000, 20,000 naira. The ethics of the job says don't collect. But his stomach also has its own ethics that if you don't put something in me, hey, you may develop ulcer, you may develop this. Then you find some of these people, they have kids, they have school fees to pay, they have all kinds of bills to settle. Then, so it's like a moral issue between being able to foot your bill and sticking to the ethics of the profession. And unfortunately, the profession, the way it is in Nigeria now, so many employers cannot even pay. And when they pay, what they pay in the real sense of the word is not really what you are worth as a journalist. I was listening to a colleague, I think 2 days ago, and he said that he is a broadcast journalist, and he also runs a personal blog and all of that. And he was saying that before he agreed to work for a TV station that he works for now, he had to get them to agree that he will continue to run his blog. Because according to him, and I agree with him, most employers really can't even pay you what you are worth as a journalist. So that's what you need as a journalist is to have multiple streams of income.
Yeah.
So I had to get them to agree that they won't they won't compel him to stop his personal blog, from which he also makes some money by the side. That the important thing is, does it affect the job I do for you? If it does not affect it, why will you stop me and you will not be able to pay me what I am worth in the real sense of the word? So it's a dicey thing, really. And what a number of us do is to also, okay, apart from being a journalist, okay, we also ghostwrite, do all kinds of things for, but it is not everybody who has that kind of luck.
Yeah.
It's not ever hard. Some of us over the years, people have associated us with, okay, it's a fantastic writer, he writes well, he does this. So when they have writing jobs and they do not have the skill or time to do it, they contact us. And from those kind of things, you can even make what is called your salary in 1 day, 1 week, doing some things. I remember during COVID, writing jobs like that actually came in handy for me, because during COVID, like most organizations, my organization took, I can't remember the percentage, but I think initially it was like almost like 50% cuts in salary that in the first place is not even enough. Then you have to take 50% cut. So at that stage, there's an international organization working on a book and all of that. So I was one of those contracted to ghostwrite some of the articles and all of that. And by the end of the job, I've gotten far more than whatever I'm paid as a journalist. So some of us have that, and we can afford to like say, okay, we live beyond the brown envelope thing. But there's so many others who don't have that kind of leverage that some of us have. And it's really a tight thing, really, to say, okay, how do you continue to hold those in government, those in power to account when you are even hungry? It's something I actually really don't have an answer to. Really, I don't have an answer to. That's true.
Thank you for the detailed expose on that. That was really helpful. And I would say that now that I know that you do other things on the side as well, if there are writing opportunities or maybe reviews or stuff that you can do for my organization as well, or anyone watching, I'm sure people would reach out to you as well to see how you can actually assist to bring some of those things into life. So thank you for that. I think I have one more question in terms of journalism. So as a seasoned journalist, on the account of the war or subtle war against the press in Nigeria, would you say free press is dead in Nigeria, or is there a deliberate ploy to gag the press?
Well, I know there is a bill at the National Assembly with some obnoxious provisions that can affect the way we practice our job, our profession as journalists. In that sense, okay, you can say, okay, there is some attempt to gag the press. But I always tell people that whatever is happening now with the practice of journalism, with governments, functionaries, relationship to the media and all of that, it's a child's play compared to what happened under the military. And one of the things in the name of our father was also meant to point out is the fact that the worst of democracy is better than the most benevolent military dictatorship. Yes, journalists are still being harassed and all of that, but you can't compare it to the nonsense that was going on under the military. It was absolute nonsense, really. Absolute nonsense that was going on there. So it could be better. What the situation we have now could be better. But what I have come to realize about every government in Nigeria, when a political party is in the opposition, they will be championing press freedom and all of that. But let them get into power. The kind of things from them now that they're in government. And if you put it side by side what they were saying when they're out of government, you just shake your head and
ridiculous,
say,
ridiculous.
Human beings are just unserious.
You're shaking the table.
It's just more about, okay, does it affect me? So if it is not affect me for now, okay, it is okay. But when it starts affecting me, then you start talking about there is need to regulate. Of course, we all know there is need to regulate the media, but the standard practice all over the world is that journalists actually regulate journalists. I actually don't know how it has gotten this bad, really. At some point, the Nigerian Union of Journalists used to be very, very powerful, and they had disciplinary committees and all of that. And they were doing a lot of things to regulate the media practice in the country. I remember there was a case of plagiarism and all of that against a senior journalist at some point. And it was the Nigerian Union of Journalists that looked into the case and all of that. But now we don't have things like that again. Even the Nigerian Press Council is almost in limbo. Certainly, there is need for some form of regulation, but I will subscribe to self-regulation. Allow the professionals themselves to put in place disciplinary committee and all of that. Not that you go and put some government-appointed persons who will only be thinking of, okay, how do we kill these people instead of championing ethics and things like that.
We will tell you what to report about and what not to report about, which we don't really want to say. So the next one, do you belong to the school of thought of who believe that writers need to have some form of background in creative writing or English literature before they become accomplished writers?
Well, for me, everybody needs some form of training. I necessarily don't believe that before you start writing that you must have a degree in English literature or creative writing.
Okay.
What I believe is, okay, with time, you can go for some form of training. It could be an MFA, it could be an MA in English and Literary Studies, it could be just some form of special writing workshop, like the ones organized by the University of Iowa and some other universities, even in the UK and all of that. But I don't believe that it is only when you have a degree in English and Literary Studies that you can. Some of the fantastic writers that I've read, some of them even read medicine. Khalid Hussein, for instance, it's a medical doctor, fantastic writer. There's a medical doctor in Nigeria, a psychiatrist, Dr. Femi Olugbile. If you read Dr. Femi Olugbile's short stories, fantastic. And the way he does is he will bring all those medicine thing that somebody, ordinary person whose background is just literary studies can't deal. But certainly, I believe everybody needs some form of training or the other. And the truth is that, like Professor Wole Soyinka once said, the best way to learn an art form is to study the work of others. And reading, when I read, I don't just read for the fun of reading. I'm reading and looking at, okay, what has this guy done differently? What is this technique he's using and all of that? So for me, when I read, I'm also studying. And buying books on craft and all of that and reading them too. It's some form of training for you to acquire some creative writing skills. I believe that writing, like someone said, that writing is like 90% having something to say. that style and all of that, it's just about 10% of the thing. And I believe that talent may not be enough for you to be a good writer, but I think some form of talent also comes into place. I've seen many people who read creative writing, read English and literary studies, but they can't write. And when I mean they can't write, I'm not talking about them not being able to string words together. But when I mean write, as in conceptualize a whole book from the beginning to the end. They may be good with the theories, the point of views, all of that, but to come up with a whole story and do a full-length novel. I've seen a number of them who just they can do short stories, they can do poetry, some poetry, they can do some creative non-fiction, but to sit down and create a whole book with characters and get them to be believable and all of that. So I think it goes beyond just having a background in literary studies or creative writing, but it does help really. I won't be shocked if in a not too distant future, I see myself doing combined masters and PhD in creative writing. I won't be shocked. I won't be shocked, but I believe that the fact that I've already established some form of career in writing will boost whatever. And for now, I'm in some form of training at the University of Iowa through a digital program that I'm doing. It's for 6 months. We started, I think, June or mid-May. We're going to finish it on November 16 or something.
Well,
so certainly, there's need for some form of training. But training is not just about only being in class. Even reading and studying the work of the masters, you can also pick one trick or the other from there, and it makes your work better, really.
That's really good to hear, with all that you have achieved so far in your career as a journalist and as a writer, to see that you belong to the school of thought that believes in continuous improvement. And that's my own belief as well, that we are all work in progress. Nobody has gotten to that stage where you believe that you know it all. So knowledge is a continuum, and we need to always continue to seek knowledge, continue to read, to own our writing skills, ability, and continue to get better in the craft. So that's really good to see, and I'm sure people watching will be picking so many salient points, hidden beneath those words, and apply that to their writing journey as well. So to my next question, In the Name of Our Father has been published to critical acclaim. What does the future hold for you? Does this put you under some form of pressure? As writers, we always get after, even if you win that prize tomorrow, you are still like under. So what does the future hold, and are you under pressure now to go and bring the Booker Prize home?
Well, I always point out something about the Booker Prize, for instance. Most people erroneously assume that Booker Prize is a global prize. Booker Prize is meant for books published in the UK and Ireland. If your book is published only in the US, you can't submit it for Booker Prize.
Okay.
So your book must have a UK or an Ireland edition for it to be eligible for Booker Prize. But it's just that over the years, it's become so popular that we assume that it's all encompassing. In fact, at a point, they were not even allowing American books to be submitted for it. But later they now said, okay, if it has a UK edition or an Ireland edition, those like the Nigerian Prize for Literature, for instance, is just strictly for Nigerians. Nigerians living in Nigeria and Nigerians living abroad.
Yeah.
In fact, when they started, they even shut out Nigerians living abroad. So it took some protests, but the organizers were saying, okay, we just wanted to promote local talents. We feel that those of you abroad, you already have some acclaim and all of that. Why? But there was so much protest. So at the point, they had no choice but to open it up to everybody. Well, whether I'm under pressure, I get people asking me, when is your next book coming out? When is your next book coming out? And for me, I have a next book in the pipeline, but when it will be published, I do not know really, because I can't afford to do any nonsense. In fact, I am about to start like the 4th or 5th draft of the work. Because I keep passing it around, getting feedback and all of that. The latest feedback I had was a week ago, and it pointed my attention at something that can affect the chances of the book getting published outside of Nigeria. So I'm doing some rewrite here and there to take care of that concern, so that who knows, I can get some deal outside of here. So there is really no issue about the story and the writing. So it's just that concern that I'm trying to take care of within the next few weeks and all of that. But when it will be published, I really don't know. And at this stage, really, I won't allow myself to.
So no pressure. Everything is under control.
Well, people are bringing pressure, but I will resist pressure, really. How it is, because apart from In the Name of Our Father, I also have a collection of short stories that was published October last year. So it's not even up to 1 year. So for me, if I don't even have another book out in the next 3 years, I think I will kill myself. No Violet Bulawayo wrote, published We Need New Names. It's over 10 years, and our new book is just coming out. So I think it's more about how well, not
how well. Yeah.
Because our first novel was fantastic. I'm sure people are waiting to see what she's going to do with this one. And for somebody like me, who wrote In the Name of Our Father when I was 24, then published it until 16 years after then, and the book now is now nominated for the Nigerian Prize for literature.
Yeah.
I'm sure more eyes are on me now to see, okay, what is he going to bring out next? There are people who are waiting to share, and there are people who are also waiting to see the nonsense I have brought out. So I can't afford to mess up.
We are cheering you on. We are cheering you on. And at least, hopefully, this video will be watched far and wide, getting into the heart of the I don't want to announce a winner on this. There will only be one winner on this chat, If I have to pick a winner, there will only be one winner. So, but we won't go into that right now.
Well, so, I've read 8 of the 11 books on the list, and for me, it can go either way. All the books are good, and they address. I think reading the books, I can see a pattern of what perhaps made the judges pick the 11 books. They address some very Nigerian issues. So many of the books are political in nature, addressing our sociological challenges and all of that. So I noticed maybe that was an hidden criteria that they didn't tell us, but reading those books make me feel like, okay, maybe this is one thing they decided to look out for.
I would like to chip this in. As you know, the current state of Nigeria, has it bettered more angry writers? Because now, we see a country on the brink, a country facing so many issues like on every side, and we have political leadership without the will, you know, to unite the country, to bring everybody together. So are we seeing a lot of angry writers or writers who are frustrated with the system? And so what do you think? Is that the situation?
I think right from the get-go, writers have always attempted to mirror the society.
Yeah.
So I really won't describe it as we have more angry writers. They are just responding to the sociological environments in which they live.
Yeah.
The first generation of writers in Nigeria were writing about colonialism, about what how our forefathers used to live and things like that. Then the second generation wrote a lot about the military dictatorship and all of that. Now we're in democracy and things, and so I think everybody's just responding to the dictates of the times we are living in, really. So I won't really say we have more. Of course, those who wrote under the military also wrote angry stuff about that era. Those who wrote against colonialism wrote nasty things about colonialism. So I think it's more about reacting to the times we live in.
Thank you very much for clarity on that. So my next question, for some of us who would someday love to become novelists, what key nuggets are you willing to share to help us hit the ground running? So this is the time for you to pour oil on our head. Some of us are to anoint us in the name of our Father.
Well, for me, I always tell an average person who wants to write, you can't be a good writer without reading. I'm not sure, except maybe the people who pioneer novel writing. I think those of us who came after them picked some skills by reading what they have written.
Yeah, sure.
So for me, if you want to be a novelist, then read a lot of novels. If you want to write short stories, read a lot of short stories and study. When you read, don't just read for pleasure, study it. And I will still go back to what Professor Olukorede said. The best way to learn a craft is to study that craft. And the way to study it is to read the work of the masters, those who have done it well. There's an American writer, he's late now, William Sensor. He wrote something that I think I posted on my social media some weeks back. And what he said is, you cannot learn how to fix a car by sitting in a classroom. You have to get your hands dirty for you to be a good mechanic. So, and it's the same is true with writing. The best way to write and improve your writing is to keep writing and giving it to somebody, a teacher or whatever, to point out what is right and what is wrong to you, and then you improve on them. And I also say something, a lot of us are afraid to write because we believe that we are writing nonsense. And somebody said something that I always find myself referring to. You can edit a bad page, but you can't edit a blank page. If you have written something that is bad, you can go through it and improve on it and make it better. But if you have not written anything, what are you improving on? Can't improve on anything. And one basic other thing for you to also become a writer is, okay, do you understand written English? And I always tell people that there is a world of difference between written and spoken English language. When you speak English language, you don't bother yourself about comma, you don't bother yourself about full stop, you don't bother your head about paragraphing, you don't bother yourself about those things. So for written English, you have to understand those things. So for you to be a novelist, a writer of course, you need to also understand those basic rules of grammar, basic syntax, and all of those things, how to improve your vocabulary and all of that. Because if you don't have wide vocabulary, when you write, you may find yourself using one word 100 times and all of those kind of things. And thank God now we have computers that can give you synonyms and all of that. So you can also use some of those tools. So the major thing is you want to write a novel, read a lot of novels, and there are millions of good novels around, millions really.
Thank you so much for your insight on that. I'm also a firm believer that we have a lot of writers who do not read books, and which is you can't really say you're a good writer if you do not read the works of those who have done this before you. Continue to read books, and so people will say they don't want to be influenced by other writers, but I think that's just a lame excuse for not wanting to read. So Olukorede Yishau said it.
I don't know. Maybe they bring the skill from heaven. Really, I don't know. I'm sure even those of them who are saying they don't want to read, they will still read really, because I don't think the skill can jump on anybody. What can jump on you is the ability to create story.
Yeah.
But putting it down the proper way, I think we acquire it really. It is learned. It is learned.
Okay, yeah, so
how to do flashback, how to bring it out emotional conflict and all of those things. They are learned. They don't come with us from everyone.
Yeah, so that's really great words of wisdom, and I'm sure there will be so many people who are taking notes, and an accomplished writer and journalist like yourself. So I would say you're in great company for the NLNG Prize with the likes of Abi, Dari, Obina, Udenwa, and others. What are your chances of winning the prize? And will you say that getting a nomination is a win in itself? There are some prizes that even a nomination alone, is change your status altogether.
On Sunday, the NLNG and the Committee for Relevant Arts will be hosting the 11 of us that are on the list to what they call a book party. The letter sent to us, I can remember a line there, and the line is for you to have made the list, it's a win on its own. And it means that you can actually win the prize. So for me, like I said the other time, I've read 8 of the books on the list, including mine. I feel that it can actually go anywhere, and whoever wins out of all of us, I think deserves it. Really, I think deserves it. They're all the ones that I've read, and I believe that even the 3 that I've not read, for the judges who are academics on their own, who understand literature and all of that, to have chosen them. Of course, as human beings, we all have our biases and all of that. There is no perfect literary prize anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
By I think October, the winner of the Booker Prize will be announced. You will see people who will complain.
People always complain.
So every literary prize is subject to the bias of the judges and all of that. So, and we are human beings. We all have biases and all of that. But of course, whatever bias you have should not gloss over good writing and things like that. You may just use, maybe I like the way this guy has coined this and all of that. It can be in that way, but if you have a stupid bias that will make you pick a book that to even a kindergarten is Inferior, then I won't understand that one. Wow. From what I've read so far, I think they didn't go off the mark too much, while admitting that they are human beings, their own subjectivity. Like somebody will say that objectivity is subjective. It's subjective to the viewpoint of the person looking at it. So it can go that way. And for me, for that book to have even come this far, I'm absolutely grateful. And if it's going to end here, I would remain grateful, really, because there were 202 books that were submitted, and for me to have made the first 11, I necessarily don't believe that those who didn't make the cut wrote bad books or something. But again, it's a price. Some people must be dropped for one reason or the other, and all of that. So, because there are some books personally that I was expecting on the list that didn't make the list. But again, I'm not the judge. Maybe if I were the judge, that my bias for those books will have come into play and make me put them on the list. But I'm not a judge this time around.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say kudos to you as well to hear that you have read 8 of the 11 books. That's a testament of your reading culture, wanting to read more.
I was counting the books I've read this year, and I'm shocked because usually I do between 60 and 61 books in the last 4 years. And I discovered that we're just in August, and I think I've done the 60 books already for this year.
Wow. That's amazing, and hopefully people like me would someday come out and emulate that gigantic stride as well. So that's really good to hear, and I'm sure the other nominees as well. I'm sure some of them too will be reading the other books and to see the quality, and also use that as a way to improve on their writing journey and ability as well. So before we wrap up things, I just wanted to say, it seems like the new generation of African writers have kept the banner aloft, and we have not been short of great writers in this dispensation. What does the future hold for African literature?
I think the future is fantastic. And part of my excitement is I've mentored some young writers, and these guys are fantastic. Fantastic writers everywhere. I think if Africa does not, and Nigeria specifically, we have some crazy writers, man, crazy. And I've seen, at a point we used to feel like, okay, maybe standard of education or quality of education has gone down, all of that. I began to have a change of opinion. When we were going to release Vote of Secret, we did a competition, a flash fiction competition. And I think we had about 200 and something entries. It was difficult for us picking the winners because so many of them were good. So I think we have fantastic writers who will ensure that the future of African literature is guaranteed and is top-notch. There's absolutely no doubt about
that. I love your Instagram name, Olukorede Yishau can write.
Can write.
That's like a form of attestation to say, damn the naysayers, no matter what you guys think, I believe
funny
in my writing ability.
Funny enough, I think it was just my name. I think it was just Olukorede Yishau. And I can't remember. I think somebody read in the name of our father, and one of his comments is, "This guy can write." So when I saw that, I just went to change my Instagram name to Olukorede Yishau.
I can attest to that as well. Olukorede Yishau can write, and if you have not read in the name of our father, I would enjoin you in the name of our Father to go and get, I will enjoin you to go and get your copy of In the Name of Our Father. Olukorede Yishau can truly write, and I am so excited about this book, and I am looking forward to reading more of your works. And thank you for your contributions to African literature, to Nigerian literature. Thank you for all that you do for the writing community as well. And fingers crossed for you for the NLNG Prize, and even for more wins on your writing, writing journey. So from the Lion of Newcastle, Tolutoludo, it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure talking to you, rubbing minds with you. And I always love I love to have conversations between writers, and it's always exciting getting into the minds of writers. I say that writers are living things, writers do not die. And this is a conversation that I know people would come to in the future, watch and rewatch and listen to. So I would say thank you for all that you do. I'm rooting for you, and all that you have said today would put it on our left hand as for our culture, the Nigerian culture. We don't use it to eat about the goosey soup. So thank you so much, and it's been a booktiful pleasure talking to you today, and speak to you sometime again. Hopefully after you won the prize, then we'll come back. Hopefully sometime soon we'll come back again and talk again, open up your mind and learn from your well of wisdom. And so thank you so much, and do enjoy the rest of your day. Can you give me a customary roar like a lion, like the lion that you are, lion of African literature? Roar!
Thank you.
Thank you
God
so
bless you.
Yeah, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day in the name of our Father.
Thank you, and you too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah.